Hello, poetry lovers. Tonight's video shows the creation of a new piece titled Sedgwick County. Stick around to the end of the video to see the complete first draft of this new poem. This piece was the result of a kind of convergence of inspiration. If you're into creating any kind of art, you'll likely know what I mean. I had been thinking lots about one of my favorite poets, Gerard Manley Hopkins, particularly thinking about his linguistic style and the kind of euphonic density of his writing. If you don't know Hopkins, I suggest you take a look at some of his works that served as inspiration for this piece. I've included some links in the description. Hopkins has this way of kind of piling up similar consonant and vowel sounds, stacking alliteration on assonance on consonants on more alliteration until the sounds are almost physically palpable. I admire his use of sound so much, and I'm often struck by the comparative thinness of my own lines, how they can slide by with few or no sound effects that resemble the kind of mastery Hopkins demonstrates. So I had been thinking about his sounds and about trying to incorporate more of his approach to a poem's sound patterns. This showed up in the assonance of the long A sound in the first line, and then a much more concentrated alliteration than I generally use in lines 4 through 6. I tried to build on these sound patterns throughout the poem, and I focused on one long sentence joined by dashes and semicolons for lines 2 through 14, over half the poem, to further accentuate the effect of a sentence kind of crowded with sound. In fact, with a poem of only 25 lines, I use only 4 sentences, 2 of which are quite long, while the other 2 are much shorter. So Hopkins was my first source of inspiration for this piece, and the other inspiration was simply an observation of my surroundings, captured as accurately as I can in the descriptive sections of this piece. When you live in America's Great Plains, you can sometimes get a sense that the land around is a kind of perfectly straight, flat, endless plain in the mathematical sense. And while this is obviously an optical illusion, it provides a sense of both immensity and clarity. This struck me as being metaphorically significant, or in other words, as meaning something more than just its physical existence. So I wanted to explore that significance in this poem. You can see that I slowed down a lot in this section and had a lot of false starts, crossing things out, revising, playing with my pen as I tried to plan the next step. I was reaching the end of the opening descriptive phase of the poem and mentally working through where to go next. So I started the poem with a brief one-line sentence that established the visual context of the poem, and for the next 14 lines, I focused simply on a description of the landscape, with no reference to myself or to any deeper meaning. But in line 16, I began the only other brief sentence in the poem, which introduces me as a character inside this setting. The final 8 lines of the poem include another long sentence that unpacks briefly the significance I see in the landscape. But instead of trying to put meaning on this visual by adding emotion words or talking about what I was thinking, I used a few allusions, especially the phrase, one life, one truth, one way. This line references one of Jesus' identifications of himself and makes a connection between the setting of the poem and a significant biblical passage. This is the most direct allusion in the piece, though there are a few other more vague allusions in the surrounding lines. In general, allusion can be a powerful way to add significance to a moment or to a whole piece, since everything a reader thinks or feels about the thing being referenced will be connected to the new piece with little or no wasted wording. So I was happy with the way the allusion worked here. As I wrapped up, my focus on creating a Hopkins-esque soundscape resulted in some repetitive wording, so that's definitely something I want to try to explore and improve in a revision. But on the whole, I like what this poem is doing, and I do like how the language worked in several places. So here it is, the first draft of Sedgwick County, written in about 31 minutes on February 20th, 2022. Sedgwick County. This place was made for straight lines. County Line Road runs north clean as the hawk flies, beside the drainage ditch where lie logs lopped limbless, laid waiting for long miles of electric lines. Beside the wire fence stretched post to post, enclosing land plowed and sown in parallel rows of wheat seed, bordering lofty cedar windbreaks, woven branches shearing gust from gust, razor blade on the sky's face. Beside the next road over, the whole county sectioned in squares on a grid straight as geography will give. And my Hyundai splitting such a true north wind, I could navigate by its force. Blacktop runs unbroken far ahead as I can see, and soul, I yearn, I stretch for so clear a path, for what this place makes manifest. One life, one truth, one way long as we need to go. No turning, only unbroken highway, sun setting left, all the way home. Thanks for watching this episode of Ars Poeticat. If you enjoyed watching poetry happen, please like and subscribe. Then go make some art.